right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. Happy Thursday. It's so good to be here with you tonight. I'm really excited to get back into Final Fantasy 15 with you tonight. We're going to be tackling Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is one of my absolute favorites, and I'm really excited to be playing it with you tonight. We've got a lot to discuss and to dissect tonight, but really I am just glad to be able to spend a portion of the evening with you, and thank you so much for hanging out with me as we do this. We're gonna play a bit, we're gonna learn a bit, and we're gonna dive in. If you are watching from my class, thank you for hopping in the chat or watching the video on demand. I really appreciate that. And we're going to be learning a little bit more about Luna tonight. And so Luna is known as an oracle, and we're going to decipher what that exactly means. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on and let's get going. All right. Thanks, Senorita. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, the art, I got some time to draw over the last week, so hopefully we're going to add a little bit more to it in the coming weeks. But it's a start for sure, so thanks. So we last left off, the boys beat Titan, and then Arden took them to a new place, and that's where we begin tonight.
Oh, thank the gods I found you boys.
And what will you do with us now?
Why, grant you safe passage, just as I said.
Pretty generous offer for an Imperial.
Come now. Is it fair to begrudge a man the circumstances of his birth?
Well, no. I guess not.
So, what do we do after he drops us off?
Go get the car. Can't leave her unattended for long. Chancellor, if you truly wish to aid us in our efforts, then I request you release us this instant.
This instant? It's a long way down. Perhaps the army could break your fall. Or perhaps you could simply sit back and enjoy the ride. You needn't worry. You're in good hands with me. Here's hoping you find that car of yours.
Here is hoping.
High Commander Ravis Nox Fleuret issued the following statement regarding the Imperial blockades across the region.
We believe the insurgents behind the Citadel attack have taken refuge in Disguise. The blockades shall help us root out the criminals. I realize the inconvenience imposed upon the citizenry, but we must each do our part for the good of all.
The High Commander also stressed the Imperial Army would continue its recovery efforts in the Crown City. The frequent quakes which rocked the Disguise and Clean regions in recent days have finally quieted. In response, the Empire provided the following comment.
The cause of the tremors was the Archean, who had awakened in a fit of rage. The Imperial Army took swift action and laid the unruly giant to rest, thus averting disaster.
With our help.
Eyewitness reports confirm Titan has disappeared from the Disc of Cothis.
I still can't believe it. I mean, shouldn't the car have turned up by now?
We should wait until Cindy's done asking around the local garages before we despair.
Let's not fool ourselves. The Empire has it.
Our car is gone.
Then maybe we could ask Arden to help us out again,
Yeah,
right?
he seems great.
The Imperial Chancellor.
He represents a problem, not a solution.
So where does that leave us?
Stranded, awaiting word from Hammerhead.
In the meantime, we'll have to hoof it.
Look, it's Umbra.
Our magic dog from Luna. So you remember Umbra, everybody. Umbra is the dog that transports the journal from Noctis to Luna and back and forth. So again, this is the way that Luna and Noctis have communicated for the last 12 years since they last saw each other. So we will begin by doing this. Now, again, Chapter 5, while we have some quests and stuff that we're going to be accomplishing, this chapter primarily talks to us about Luna, so we're going to be discovering a lot more. If you've had questions about Luna's role as Oracle, this is the chapter for you. Yep, we're gonna
Someone's
follow
sending
Umbra.
us a message.
What do we do?
Follow it.
All right, Umbra, come on, bub. Yeah. How is that? Is that better? I had to turn down the desktop audio, but is that better? Better balancing? Better, worse, about the same. Is that better? Okay, great. All right, thank you. All right, off we go. Yeah, I want you to be able to hear the beautiful music, but at the same time, you got to hear my beautiful voice, right?
Gentiana.
Hear me, O King of the Stone. By the Stormsender's blessing, will the path to the stone be opened? The Oracle goes hence in her king's name.
Luna. Where is she now?
The eye of the storm. When the covenant is forged, the Oracle and ring shall await their king at the walls of water. Stray not from the path.
She's a messenger. A spirit. Faithful to the Oracle.
For real?
For real.
We're going beyond real now, pal.
Ooh, it's writing time. My prayers are with you, Noctis. Thank you, Luna. Praying for us. And we will write back. I received the blessing. Thank you. Still rolling along or got it? We're going to be good to Luna, right? This is her chapter. I received the blessing. Thank you, Luna. Here you go, magic dog. Take this back to Luna. Thanks.
Let Luna know I'm okay. And she won't have to wait much longer. We'll be together soon.
Aw.
The crystal was gifted to mankind, that we might know lasting prosperity.
If the crystal belongs to everyone, how come only Lucis gets to use it?
The kings of Lucis do not simply use the crystal, they also protect it.
Wait, so my dad's guarding it?
Yes,
I had no idea.
to crown the King of Light is the calling of the crystal, and keeping the crystal safe until that day falls to the line of Lucis.
And I'm the chosen.
Yes, only the true king, anointed by the crystal, can purge our star of its scourge.
You really think I can do that?
As Oracle, I will see to it. To aid the king is the Oracle's calling.
Then I guess I can do it. I won't let you down.
I know you won't.
Unto the king alone this voice is heard. To follow the words is to follow the chosen path.
I think the
Bridging
spring,
heaven
Llama.
and earth it strikes, the storm's ephemeral yet eternal light. To the light must go the king.
Okay, folks, that was a huge information dump that we're going to have to dissect in just a
Freya's
second.
done well to keep the ring from falling into enemy hands.
All we need to do is hit Altissia.
All right, folks, let's talk for a second because that was a huge lore dump that we just talked about. So, we got to hear from Luna Freya and Noctis from 12 years prior. Remember, this is the time that Noctis had a grievous injury inflicted by a demon that we'll talk about. If you're in my class, we'll talk about that in just a couple of chapters. But Noctis went to Tenebrae, visited Luna, and he was healed by the power of the Oracle, Luna's mother. And then the Emperor, the kingdom of Niflheim, attacked and took over Tenebrae, and Luna's mother was killed, essentially making her the youngest Oracle at 12 years old. So, in this cutscene that we just saw, there are so many points. First of all, before the scene with Luna and Noctis when they're 12, we meet Gentiana, and Ignis describes Gentiana as a messenger of the gods, a spirit messenger, think angel, who serves as an assistant or a helper to the Oracle, and Luna is the Oracle. We then get this cutscene that shows Noctis as an 8-year-old and Luna as a 12-year-old, where Noctis is learning about what his role is as the, quote, chosen, and Luna's role as the Oracle. He begins to learn about the crystal, all right? And so you've probably heard a little bit about Noctis. If you saw Kingsglaive, then you saw that the crystal was taken from Insomnia, and it was taken to Niflheim by the Emperor and the Chancellor Arden. This is a really important piece because Luna says the crystal was given to the people, and specifically to the kings of Lucis, as kind of this gateway, this intercessor between the power of the gods and the power of the kings, the rule of the kings. So I want you to think in terms of, especially if you're in my class, I want you to think in the terms of biblical and specifically Old Testament Jewish Hebrew history. Is there a relic that served as the presence of the divine, the presence of God, that would be utilized in battle at times and also to signify the presence of God? Well, yeah, there was. And it was the Ark of the Covenant, or the Tabernacle. Think Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? They would carry this thing into battle. And so we see here that the crystal is somewhat a sacred relic that is used similarly to the Ark of the Covenant. And the task has fallen from the 6 gods to the kings of Lucis to protect and to use that crystal and the power of the gods for bringing order to the world around them. This is what every king of Lucis has had to do, and Luna, in that flashback, is sharing with Noctis, this is your calling as the chosen. Your father does it, and one day you will too. And Noctis leans back, and he's like, I had no idea, and it's a shocker. Luna then talks a little bit about her role as the Oracle, and she says it is the king's duty to protect the crystal, and it is the Oracle's duty and calling to assist the king in that endeavor. So, if you're in my class, you remember that there is a similar relationship between kings and prophets. Prophets, and then Senorita, you're right. She said that she'll see to it that he is able to accomplish it. That he's able to fulfill his calling. That's a really, really big point. Great point, Senorita. She will see to it. She will assist him in his calling to protect and preserve the crystal and become the king of light, the chosen king. Now, we don't exactly know what it means to be the chosen king yet, but Luna seems to have a handle on it. In my class, we talk about the role of the prophet to the king. What's up, Michael? Welcome. Prophets have 3 roles when it comes to their specific designation. If you remember from an earlier stream, I talked about the dynamics between sacral or sacred holy kingship and its evolution into the Jewish realm. And it begins with this delineation between kings and prophets. It's kind of an accountability structure. Prophets do 3 things. No, you're fine, Michael. You are totally fine. Do not worry about that one bit. I'm just glad you're here, buddy. Thank you so much for being here. Prophets do 3 things. Here they are. The first thing they do is they legitimize a king's appointment. Essentially, they're the ones that anoint usually with oil, the king as the king. So you think of Samuel anointing David, Samuel anointing Saul. It happens a couple of other times when lineage, as far as genealogy, breaks. So the first thing that they do is they have the ability to anoint or legitimize a king's reign. The second thing that prophets do is they serve as the king's conscience and counsel. Any king that is going to succeed has to listen to their prophet. Now, every king of Israel and Judah in Jewish history, biblical Old Testament history, always has a prophet. And a good way of understanding the king is by understanding the prophet that was designated to that royal. So, when you're reading the book of Jeremiah, for example, an Old Testament prophet, a good question is, who's the king that he's talking to? And one of the primary kings that Jeremiah is the prophet for is King Zedekiah, the final king in Judah. This is a really important piece for understanding. So that just gives you a little bit of insight regarding that piece. King serves as the legitimacy of the king's appointment, the prophet does, and the prophet serves as the king's conscience and counsel. And then there's one final thing: the prophet always discerns the word of God and interprets it for the people. Now, I'm not talking about a Bible. I'm talking about they sense or hear messages from God and they send that message to the people. This is a really, really critical point that I want you to understand. These three roles of the prophet are key. Okay, so with that, we're going to go back to the game, okay? Any questions about kings and prophets before we move forward? Because I want you to be able to see these notes as we go through here. Any questions? I'll give you about a minute, and we'll just vibe to this sweet music. Hey, looks like we got a bunch of people in the chat. Hey, welcome tonight. So glad that you're joining us. If this is your first time joining us for a Final Fantasy 15 lecture chapter stream, then I am so glad that you're with us. Daisy, what's up? It's good to see you. I have a dual role as both a Twitch streamer and then also as a college professor or lecturer. And so we have some people in the chat tonight, maybe lurking and watching for their homework. And so they're hanging out with us. Prophets, what's your question about prophets, Michael? Hey, thank you for the sub, Daisy. Thank you. Woots woots indeed. Thank you for the 4 months. Oh my gosh, incredible. Thank you for the sub. You rock. So, as we get going, we're kind of trying to equate the oracle with the prophet here. And so if you notice, legitimacy of the king, and then just to sum up, yeah, prophets serve as the king's counsel and their conscience, keeping them in line. Number 2, it legitimizes and anoints or appoints the king. And then number 3, a prophet will always determine and discern the word of the divine or the God to the king. So the king no, you are totally fine, Michael. You are totally fine. And this is such a great question. You want to know something really funny, Michael? Christians don't know this. Christians just read prophets and kings, and they sometimes think that they're just priests, but prophets are not the same thing as priests. They're a very specific class. And so you are totally in bounds asking this kind of question, my friend. So thank you for speaking up. Prophets serve as assistants to the king, and particularly divine intercessors or intermediaries, okay? And so, to understand prophets a little bit better, we're going to get back to Luna, and that's going to help us out just a little bit. Daisy, how are you doing tonight? It is so good to see you.
Kayam may serve us now as it did them then.
The hidden harbor. Just my work. I'll have Iris set it up.
So, in the meantime,
head into the storm.
It's good to see you so
day,
much.
Another
so glad.
deity.
All right, so now we are in the rain, and there is a new god named Rama, or Ramu, who is causing it to rain. And so, sorry, we're going to put on our rain gear because we are really living into the full, like, RPG aspect of this, you know? Let's give him a jacket. Well, that's no jacket. You can just keep that jacket on. And as for you... he looks ready for All right, we're good with that. Yes, the prophet is going to be different, different than the advisor, the protector, and the friend. This is a fourth piece, a fourth relationship that a king needs to have, and that's the prophet. Oh, Daisy, don't you worry about that one bit. I am so glad that you are in here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So now we are going to travel to where the lightning is striking. That is allegedly where Luna is. Gintiana reminded us that Luna has gone on before us to, check it out, go and speak to the deities on behalf of Noctis. Do you remember at the end of chapter 4 when Noctis had that vision about Luna meeting with Titan? Luna was meeting with Titan to set up a covenant so that Titan would grant his blessing to Noctis.
She call you?
No messages.
Not at all. Michael, you're fine. Let's see. Aerith. So no spoilers for Final Fantasy VII, by the way, because that is a game that people in the chat are wanting me to play and complete. But Aerith, in some ways, serves as kind of a prophetic tone. She definitely has this intercessory relationship with something divine, though it's a little bit different than it's used here. Oh wait, what are we doing? Why are we walking like a bunch of fools when we have chocobos? Are you kidding me? Can I not call my chocobo? Oh, we are gonna call my chocobo. There he is. Or she. There he is. Let's go.
Easy now.
No, you're great, Michael. Great questions. Keep them coming. If you have questions about kings, prophets in the chat, oh, get back on there.
Thanks, buddy.
No, we're not done with you. The jump button and the action button being the same is one of the biggest mistakes in video game history. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's go around these trees. Around these trees.
Better keep up.
Up and over. Let's go. Oh, we're trying to take shortcuts and the game just does not want us to. Can we get out of this? Are we doomed forever? No. Okay. We're just gonna not take shortcuts. We're gonna go this long way. All the way around. Like, seriously, why would you put the jump button and the action button as the same button? Who thought that was a good idea?
First Titan, now Rama. Chasing down deities is hard work.
Think how Lady Luna Freya must feel.
If the string of the rites is as Gentiana suggested, I fear she's far worse off than we are.
Ah, don't miss that. They just talked about how Luna is making these rituals, these covenants, with the gods. Now, why is she doing that? She is beseeching and praying to the gods that they might test Noctis' strength. So we've talked a lot on these streams about the trials of a king. Trial does two things. Number one, it reveals the character of a king, and it also increases their influence.
How come
right?
that lady's helping you out anyway?
Gentiana?
Yeah, is she like your...
Knocked. Overhead.
I don't see anything overhead, Gladio. Oh, it's one of these guys. And the second thing it does is it increases the influence of a king. So these gods are listening to Luna, and they are choosing to give Noctis a trial that's going to test his worth. And then they bless him if he's able to uncover. Now, if you remember right, the first test that Titan gave was a test of strength, right? He was holding up the meteor, protecting the world, essentially, and then you had to overcome him by strength. This one is more about hide and seek. It's almost like foraging.
Thanks for
so
the
let's
ride.
stop here for a second.
Aw, thanks, buddy.
young prince is recovering well.
Who?
Gentiana, a messenger. The prince has read of our kind.
Oh, I tried to, but I only know what Luna told me.
Lady Luna Freya.
Yeah, Luna for Luna.
It is heartening to see the future king and the Oracle enjoy such familiarity. The fate of our world may depend on it.
That's a huge moment that I want to make sure that we hit here. Gentiana is noticing the familial or the very familiar relationship between Noctis, the future king, and the Oracle. As I said before, one of the primary relationships that a king has is with his or her prophet, in the case of a queen, I guess. And if a king is good, then that king is going to have a strong relationship with their prophet. If a king is bad, they haven't listened to their prophet. The prophet legitimizes the king's appointment. The prophet discerns the will of God. And then finally, the prophet is going to be the king's conscience and counsel. Now, not just any kind of counsel. So Ignis is different in advising than Luna is. Luna gives a supernatural, spiritual, sort of sacred advice, whereas Ignis gives strategic kind of planning advice. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? This is a big thing to kind of understand about prophets here. And so one of the things that I want us to recognize is, like I was saying before that cutscene, each of the gods has a test that Noctis has to overcome in order to receive the blessing of the god. The first one, Titan, had the trial of Titanus holding the meteor above him because he caught it to protect what? To protect the world from kind of shattering. I'm also going to say that each of these gods, each of these deities, has some element that brings order to the world. So for instance, Titan is concerned about the survival of the creation. Rama, on the other hand, is not testing Noctis' strength, but he's sending him on a foraging mission. Asking him, sure, a king needs to be strong, but a king also needs to be resourceful. And so this trial is one of resources. Can you provide? Can you forage? Can you do what needs to be done for your people? So with that, let us continue.
I remember back in Tenebrae with Gentiana.
The revelation of the Storm Sender awaits the king. Hurry hence to the eye of the storm. Foreign hordes fear the true king's ascension.
Foreign hordes.
The fearful seek to seal the path of what must come.
All right.
What is it? Another headache?
I heard her. Gentiana.
Divine voices in your head again?
Hopefully it won't amount to the same headache it did with the Archean.
Yeah, someone in my class today said
The
it didn't
oracle's
seem...
call awakens the gods, that their blessings find the king.
Another big moment.
You all right? What did she say?
That Luna's awakening the six.
So Luna is awakening the six gods. Now, this is a really important thing. One of the pieces in the book of Isaiah says... it speaks of one who is a voice calling in the wilderness, someone that is preparing the way for the Lord. That's actually something that's used to describe John the Baptist in the Gospels, the cousin of Jesus. He isn't the show, but he is making a way for the show, which is Jesus, essentially. And so one of the ways of thinking of prophets is that they are preparers of the road. And so that's what Luna is doing here. Luna is preparing the way for Noctis, the king-to-be, to have these interactions with the gods. And so Luna prepares Titan, prepares Noctis for Titan by saying, Titan, test Noctis. She's gone to Rama and said, would you test Noctis here? And Rama says, yes. and this is the test. She's doing this for all 6. Somebody in my class said it didn't seem like Titan wanted to kill Noctis, and he's right. He wanted to test Noctis, because this giant could have smashed Noctis like that, right? But this was a test of, can you overcome this? And Rama's doing the same thing. Luna is not going straight to Noctis. She has to go to the 6 gods. So that is why she's not in much of a hurry to go see Noctis, because she's got to give him the ring, right? The ring is that legitimacy, and she's going to give that to him eventually. Let's continue. On the chocobos, of course. Okay, come on.
Let's go.
Does that make sense, everybody? Well, this blew your mind? Okay, right on. Good, I'm so glad it makes sense.
Just don't get too carried away.
Sure want to talk.
These are some of the reasons why when I was playing this game, I was like, oh my gosh, this is, I know this stuff. Like, I can actually use my religion degrees and history and stuff. The MacGuffin legitimacy. Yeah. Make the quest try to make more sense. Exactly. How you doing, Spyrus? Thanks for chatting.
Crappy weather.
Yeah.
Crappy weather. But you know what? It's really good fishing weather. We have done a terrible amount of fishing in this game. Like, we just have not done any. Oh man, we gotta cross the road. Is that a staircase up ahead? Yes, it is. Playing Final Fantasy 14, great. You making some glowy weapons,
So
doing
is
some
Quintiana,
crafting?
you know, human?
Not quite. Well, not exactly gods. Messengers are divine entities.
Just like the Oracle speaks to the gods for the people, the messengers speak to the people for the gods.
So she's Lady Luna Freya's partner in divine.
Turn a profit. Did you hear that the maker of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi, started his own clothing line in Final Fantasy 14? He calls it Sakaguchi, G-U-C-C-I, all caps there. Sakaguchi, I love it. That man is a treasure. Alright. So for this quest, Noctis has to, like I said, forage, but at the same time, he also has to kind of scout out and understand the world around him. He's following these lightning strikes, or the giant red exclamation
The story
point.
about Lady Luna Freya coming through town was true after all.
Judging by the timing of her visit, she probably set course for the Archean as soon as she fled the Ground City.
You really owe her big time, Noct.
Can't wait to thank her in person.
Yeah.
The covenant is forged, but the revelation awaits. Make now for the storm sender and let judgment be passed.
Noct! You okay?
Yeah. Another reminder to receive the blessing.
That divine power's just waiting for you.
Thy
Yes, it is.
revelation is the power of the 6 manifest. The stone commands that the king receive it.
What was it this time?
Said I'm the chosen one. Lucky me.
The most reluctant chosen one of all time, Noctis. Complete.
O king, journey to Fosha, the Eastern Hollow. The seal has been lifted. Deep within the heart of rock lies the runestone, the portal to power. No other can be allowed to find it.
The last one's in the cave.
Let's hurry up and get this over with.
Finally, time to meet with the storm sender.
Yeah, it
Better
is.
look your best.
Better look your best. No, we're gonna wear our fishing outfit. Are you kidding me? All right, chocobo time again.
Easy now. This'll be quick.
We're just gonna fly right over these soldiers. Did you see the updates, the graphical updates that they're gonna do for Final Fantasy 14? They're not like drastic overhauls, but it is gonna look a lot prettier. Over the trees, Noctis, over the trees. It's so good that we saved the chocobos from the behemoth, because this would be terrible to just walk.
Come on, pick up.
No luck?
Probably got her phone on silent.
You and Prompto, Senorita. Gladio's trying to call Iris, by the way. Yeah, in the last live letter, they talked about some of their plans for the next 10 years, and there was no spoilers for Endwalker in it. So the screenshots and stuff that they give, you can actually look at them and not be spoiled. All right.
Amazing. The power of the gods in the palm of your hands.
Never dreamt I'd see law come to life before my very eyes.
Leaving in some Magitech engine. It's close.
We don't care about the Magitech engine. So to kind of fully understand this, I do want to go to a specific menu item in just a second. Something that is very missable, but fortunately, I have I found most of these things. So hang on one second. We'll get there.
Indeed. I dare say Lady Lunafreya seeks the Hydrian as we speak.
Which means another right and a heavier burden. Hope she can hold up.
Alright. Where are we? Ah, man. We missed it. Back over here.
We're still gonna visit the other royal tombs, right?
Of course. We've simply gone off-road for a spell.
Noct could definitely use a hand from his ancestors.
We sure
The
could.
dead can wait, but gods aren't always forgiving. Let us not keep the Fulgurian waiting.
The Fulgurian, let's not forget that. Gods aren't always forgiving. That's a good one. Alright, let's go. Somebody asked me once, is there a god in Hebrew or Old Testament
Where did that car
mythology
of ours drive off to?
do I think that Rama is like? And I think that I would
Maybe
probably
I'll
have to
go
go with
behind.
Baal.
Indeed.
Baal is a god of fertility, which means that whenever there was a dry season, it was the god of bringing rain, which rain is the fertilization of the ground, right? The people of Israel constantly left God or Yahweh for
So Noct,
for Baal.
right now you're still gathering your powers, but what do you do once you've found them all?
The calling is only a set of guiding principles.
Well, hopefully it'll guide him into taking down the Empire once and for all.
Well, here's hoping.
Yeah, like the sound of that.
Ooh, a nice whistle version, like a flute. A whistle. Flute. Alright, where is this cave?
Your ancestors have our backs, and the gods are on.
Oh!
That one was pretty close.
Yes,
Which
it
means
was.
we must be as well.
Alright, we'll walk. We'll walk. Alright, before we hop into this, I want to point out just a couple of things in the archives. Data log. Yeah, these are a few things that I want us to point out. First of all, the Oracle. These come from cosmogony notebooks. It says, in the distant past, Bahamut the Draconian descended to the mortal realm and embraced the people of Tenebrae. From among them, he handpicked a pious maiden and bestowed upon her the power of the stars and his trident. Using these gifts for the good of all, she became the first oracle, and the oracle is the one that brings or joins heaven and earth. So we've kind of talked about that already. The next thing that I want to mention is the crystal. We've kind of talked about this one. There once lived a man born immortal but blessed with powers divine. Conjuring a collection of glaives, that is, weapons, he dispelled the darkness plaguing our star. As a reward for his efforts, the gods granted him a holy stone, the crystal, which he was to guard at all costs, for it would one day choose a king to see us through the coming disaster and lead us to salvation. So the ring, Luna has this ring. Here's what this says. Before falling into slumber, an eternal slumber, the six bequeathed unto man one last treasure. This was a ring. Yet, who among us was fit to possess the gift of the gods? After some time, the ring was transferred to the hands of a man blessed with powers divine, ultimately developing the mark, identifying one fit to rule. Next, the covenant. This is what Luna is doing, crafting these covenants with the gods. It says the earliest counts of covenants are found in ancient tomes dating back to the time of the cosmogony some 2 millennia ago. According to such tomes, the rites are a means by which the oracle summoned forth the gods, that she might make the will of mortals known to the divine. That is a really big piece there, and it kind of just further illustrates what Luna is doing on behalf of Noctis.
Look, over there. I bet that's the spot lightning struck.
And we're supposed to go inside?
Of course. To the cave.
Here we are. Fosha Hollow.
No telling what waits inside.
Stay sharp.
Bad.
Always. We're drifting into the deep end.
I can't quite make out how deep it runs.
Only one way to find out, right?
That's... oh no.
I've got a bad feeling about this place.
As if danger lurks round every corner.
Avoid all corners. Got it.
Usually in Japanese culture, the star and planet are interchangeable. Not always, but I've heard, and again, I don't speak Japanese, but I've heard that those words can be interchanged.
Tight squeeze.
Huh. Maybe for you. Pretty easy for me, though. On second thought,
maybe not. Poor Prompto. But poor Gladio especially. Big dude.
Shh, keep quiet.
Who? What? Where?
I don't know, but I don't like it.
Stay alert.
Oh. Oh, we still got one?
To swing a sword in here.
Not anymore.
Just don't hit me. Nothing to it.
Nothing to it. How about we go in here?
I guess we could crawl through.
Don't lose your head.
Don't lose your head. Okay, guys.
Last thing I need now.
Easy peasy.
It never ends.
Never does. How are my guys doing? Come on. Nice. Oh, man. Through the cave, through the cave. Oh my gosh! That was actually pretty scary. Whew. Got me. Freaking jump scares. This is not why I play this game. Oh my god. Ugh.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Ignis. Good lord. Same, Noctis.
Nice guy. You're on fire.
down now.
Simmer down now, Ignis? Really? There's water in this cave. Good. Eyes peeled, mouth closed isn't unpleasant. Fair.
You
Fair.
think we can fit through there?
What's up, Fitz? Good to see you. Nice. Oh, kill it. Get back, get back. All right, Doctor. Backflip, backflip.
Can't stop now.
All right. Freaking imps.
Knocked. Another one out.
Pronto, shut up and fight.
So long. Nice work,
Gladio, you completely missed. You're supposed to be my protector. You're a failure. Alright, let's go.
Not good to throw daggers in the dark.
Be nice to brighten things up in here.
What's the idea? I'm one of the good guys. Remember?
Really? Because you did nothing to help me, Prompto. Ugh, boo, Prompto. Y'all, one of my friends and colleagues that I've met through Twitter and Twitch, a guy named MJ Gallagher, and I were talking on Twitter today. He wrote a book that I really like called Norse Myths That Inspired Final Fantasy VII. And he said that Prompto's name, Prompto Argentum, by the name Quicksilver, has a really interesting role in Norse mythology correlation to Prompto's role as the best friend. Prompto!
Hey, you alright?
Anyway, he's supposed to be sending me some
Over here.
information on that. I am not as keen on Norse myths as I am biblical knowledge, so I asked him to help me out there. So I'm
Prompto,
excited,
are
and
you
as soon as I
okay?
find out, I'll share it with
Not
you.
okay. This
Okay.
place is literally the worst. And why did it have to be a snake? That thing dragged me all the way over here.
Prompto, I'm coming.
They just keep
What are these guys?
Sending him back.
Prompto, I got you, bro. I got you. Gotcha. Let's get it.
Oh, come on.
Well, Mind Flayer. Nice.
Everything okay? Come on, stay with me.
Look at all these terrible little Teplumpto. Oh man, I missed that when I first read it. This.
That's it. I quit.
Prompto is babe.
Say your prayers.
no cause for concern.
Okay, that was chaotic. Can you do something, Prompto? Shoot this guy. Are you just gonna like stand there and not do it? Prompto did some backflips and rolling. Yeah, same, using the same monsters. I love that. You know, they just evolve with every passing
Sense
thing.
we're on the right track.
I too, when I want to pick things up, also jump. Not this.
She's here. I just know it. Show yourself already!
Cool it.
Babe, the talking pig. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I get Babe mixed up with Charlotte's Web Pig. Is that the same? That's not the same, right? No, it's Wilbur. Wasn't that the name? I don't know. Oh gosh.
There she is. That's her. Do something, not.
Don't ask me, do it yourself.
My baby. Some pig. Where? I don't know where your baby is. I cannot help you. Okay, this is not healthy. This is not healthy.
Well, here we are.
I will not become your baby. Got it. Bring back my baby. Oh no. That is not surprising to me, Senorita.
What was she talking about?
Beats me.
Her baby.
Something about her baby?
Yeah, if it's anything like her, I ain't going near it.
Okay, Prompto.
Do you guys see anything?
Nothing that's gonna snatch you up.
Come on, you giant baby. All right. Hey, here we go.
Last runestone.
This is it.
Finally.
All right, you're up, Noct.
So we see here Luna making the covenant with Rama. It sure is, Fitz. Ooh. Red-eyed Noctis.
This is it. The power of the storm.
I expected more fire and brimstone.
Some gods are friendlier than others, I guess.
But not all of them. Poor Luna.
Perhaps you'd better console her in person.
Just a boat ride away.
Lose that scowl along the way.
Will do.
We have the Mark of the Fulgurian, a symbol of Rama's favor. All right, everybody. So now that we've got Rama's blessing, we get to go find our car, hopefully. Luna would have been a good DLC, wouldn't it? There's actually a companion book that talks a little bit about Luna. It was supposed to be some DLC, but canceled. Ah, it's sunny again.
Hey, it stopped raining.
Sated the
Guess
gods.
Rama finally got
wrath.
sick of showers.
I guess
Up
so,
there,
Gladio.
it's huge.
Way bigger than the last one we saw.
That is big. Dude, where's my car? That is...
Yeah?
Hey, Highness. About your car.
Cindy.
Yeah.
Well, I found her, but she's at a base.
Oh.
Now, I can handle garage folk, no
Rip.
problem. But sweet talking the Empire? That'll take some doing.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah?
We'll figure it out.
You sure about that?
Yeah. Thanks for the heads up.
What's
Later.
up, LER?
Who was that?
Good to see you. Thanks
Cindy.
for hopping in. Thanks for
What?
chatting.
You can't talk to her like that.
Yeah, I can. I just did.
And did she have any choice words for you?
Yeah. The Regalia's at an Imperial base.
Oh boy.
Guess that just leaves one question.
When do we retrieve her?
I'd say now.
Me too. I'd say now.
This is nothing more than conjecture, but I suspect that ship was due to arrive far earlier. The thunder and lightning must have slowed it down. There's a chance they intend to transport the Regalia back to Niflheim.
We ought to thank the Thunder God for buying us some time.
But that time is running out.
Yeah, let's run in and ride off.
Remember, they're just as scared of us.
Easy as they come.
They're just as scared of us. Yeah, right. People say that about animals all the time, but I am definitely more scared of them sometimes. Like a bear. Okay, chocobo time. Let's hop on them. Oh. Hi.
Let's go.
Let's do it. We loved you some air.
I'm going on ahead!
Okay, Ignis, you got it, buddy. Bum ba da ba 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 da bum bum bum. Yeah, alligators. Get out of the way, Ignis. Ah, now we can see the world. It's so much nicer when it's not raining. Whee. Ah, look at that. That's so pretty. I never saw an airbud either, Spyrus.
Iris is truly a caring soul.
Like you? No wonder you get along like wildfire.
Knocked.
You get along like wildfire? Is that a phrase? Is that a phrase that people say? Bum 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 bum. All right. There's a giant beast.
He was the Chancellor.
I've had suspicions, but that was well beyond them.
Ignis, why didn't you say something then? You had suspicions he was the Chancellor, and you just, like, didn't mention that? Ignis. Yeah, Michael, the logical reason is because he is in the line of Lucis, and by going to the tombs, he's essentially getting the,
flying on a ship like that.
One more item to cross off the bucket.
he's essentially getting the blessing or the approval of King's Past. So if you ever watched the Final Fantasy 15 companion prequel called Kingsglaive, anytime someone who was unworthy put on the ring of the Lucii, which Luna has to give to Noctis at this point, they would be judged by the former kings. Noctis is going to these tombs in order to receive the legitimization, so to speak, of the king's past. So they too have trials similar to the trials of the gods. So he's able to wield those because those are the weapons of the former kings.
Exactly.
Well, become best buds with the gods, maybe?
Imperials above us!
Thanks.
This is quite the long trek. Up, there's Imperials behind us. You're welcome, Michael. For my class, so I've talked about the Ascension story here, that we're doing the trials of a king, the relationships of a king,
Here we go again.
responsibility, and the deliverance of order to chaos.
I'm sure she's had better things to do.
All for a lost cause.
And
Bad for turning down the courtesy.
for my class,
Courtesy cars, no
because
regard.
Noctis goes to the various
Would have felt like
tombs.
cheating.
Besides, Cindy's a
Oh my
big
gosh,
girl.
they are talking so much.
You think she'll call again soon?
Soon, huh? Not soon enough for
I don't
you,
want to interrupt
lover
them, but at the
boy.
same time. So for my class, when we got to the part
Still
where
can't
Noctis
get
has to
through.
go through the
She's unable to answer.
tombs,
But I told her to be ready and pick up
I
when
assigned
call.
them a midterm project where they have to go look at all of the 30 some odd kings of Israel and Judah and learn the lessons. And the idea is Noctis is learning about the king's past, and so in our class we do the same. Look at that crater. Oh, here you can kind of see, from this angle, you can kind of see the place where Titan, the Archean, caught the meteor in the middle, and it caused all of these ripples outside of it. Yeah, kind of neat detail. All right, we are almost there. Since I've, there we go.
Kind of fortress.
Here's a fortress.
Yeah, Port-a-Fortress. Those walls don't look
Port-a-Fortress.
so portable, though.
They
They are
don't.
remnants of the old war, and the Imperial Army has availed itself of the added protection. Entry will not be easy.
So we're gonna go to camp. All right, let's go, buddy. Wow, prompto.
Noct! You gotta try this!
Yeah, I think they heard you.
Just scream while you ride a chocobo. I've got to try that. Great. Ah, here we are.
We'll meet again.
Let's camp. After we jump for a second. Camp.
Sleeping out under the stars tonight.
All right. Let's have the boys eat. Man, that looks really tasty. Ace Hunter Schnitzel. Ignis really likes a fluffy. Okay, let's. Ignis has been good to us lately. But a prime Garula rib, that'd be good. We'll give him horn-tooth meat pie. That's fine. Give him some gazelle greens for the chocobos. Mmm. Yeah, the camp music's good, right, Fitz? Yeah, this is pretty good. Look at everybody hanging out on their chocobos. That's a good scene right there. That's good. Ah. Oh, look at this glamour shot. Hmm.
Hey, this one's pretty good.
Really?
I know. I dig it too.
Ignis looking at rocks. Yeah, that is pretty good. Look at that one.
Why can't I warp too? So unfair.
'Cause you suck, Prompto. Gladio. I don't know what you're doing, bruh. Noctis. Gladio. Ah, racing. That's pretty fun. Ah, good picture day, Prompto. Good picture day. Animal Crossing? Yeah, a little bit.
Any bright ideas, Ignis?
A dark one, as it were. A frontal assault would leave us exposed. But if we move under cover of night, we might be able to infiltrate the base unnoticed.
And until then?
We learn all we can about the base's design and attempt to narrow down the Regalia's location. I'll analyze what intelligence we have available to find us a way in.
Sounds good, Specs.
All right, we're gonna get our wheels back.
Yes, sir. Noctis must retrieve the Regalia before morning. So it's a timed mission. Which means we probably need to get out of our fishing attire and into our leather goods again. Undaunted by the Empire's imposing technology.
Our goal is the Regalia.
Yes.
The last thing we want is to engage an entire garrison. Avoid detection at all costs.
Oh, you got it.
In and out before it gets light, then.
Indeed. Even if it means leaving the task unfinished, we withdraw before we overstay our welcome.
It is good, Fitz. All right, back to our leather costumes. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, you're good. And boom. Our infiltration costumes. I don't know why I'm calling them costumes and not outfits. Whatever. Iggy, we good? Oh, a bad guy.
Together on my signal. Until then, hold position.
You got it, buddy.
3, 2, 1.
You got it.
Now.
That's how it's done.
That's how it's done. Like a boss. What is footed? Senorita, okay? Footed.
Stop.
What?
Searchlights.
Fits.
We're clear. Tread warily.
All right.
Utada. The Utada. Oh, Ignis. Final Fantasy Utada. Got it. If you don't, at my university, there was a TikTok trend where all of the sorority pledges came up with outfits of the day, and they like did it on TikTok or whatever. And we called it Utada's outfits of the day.
It's gone. Magitech armor.
Don't want to mess with one of those.
We shouldn't have to, if we keep to the shadows.
Right.
Sneaky, sneaky. Let's go. Yeah, I didn't know what it was either at first, Spyrus. I was like, Fafutada, but it's Utada. Final Fantasy Utada.
Target the blind spot. 1 hit, 1 kill.
Blind spot. I'm trying. Now that you've thoroughly confused everyone. That is what they do at our bastions of higher learning. Yes, Uta does.
You're in fine form. Keep it up.
Thanks, Ignis. I live for your praise and approval. Maybe we can use this. Okay. Sneak.
Is what's powering the base?
A Magitech generator of some description. It would explain why the troopers in the vicinity are uncommonly strong.
I say we wreck it. Spare us the sneaking around.
I say we
The
wreck
risk is
it.
too great. Finding the regalia comes first, not a sound. You'll alert the enemy.
There are a lot of enemies. Warp kill 6 Imperial soldiers. You got it. One. Here's 2. Here's 3. Oh no! Well, Noctis has been spotted. That's fine. Let's just do it. There's one more. Nope, we got them all. That feels like it should have been a little bit more dangerous, getting caught. I am level 99. You're right, Spyrus. You're right. Oh, there's our Mary Kay. Mary Kay car.
Sight for sore eyes.
She sure
And
is.
none the worse for her time in Imperial hands.
Let's do it.
Change of plans. Our new objective is to clear a path for the regalia.
Clear a path. Let's get the burning. Oh no!
Well, here we are.
Did we do it? Oh no! Oh, that guy. It's so good. There we go. So, in one of my classes one time, they asked the question, why, what similarities does this part of like going into bases have with the biblical narrative? And my response was, there are a handful of times, we're looking at Noctis as a parallel or an analog to David. There are several times when Noctis actually has to take down some enemy bases and things like that. It's not main parts of his story, but there certainly are some similarities, especially in chapter 6, just after this one. Okay, where are the others? Ah, Regalia. Okay, anybody else? There's one.
We'll take out the generator and all enemies in the area. Noct, focus your efforts on the generator. There's a chance doing so will weaken the activities.
Almost, yeah.
Our stealth. Our cover's low.
But there's no marching around the cities.
Yes, sir.
Okay, to the generator. Okay.
The entire base is fair game. Hold nothing back. The havoc keeps the enemy off balance.
Ooh, Magitech. Ooh, the bridge is out. Good reference to the prophet Jeremiah there, Spyro. That's good. One of the greatest parts of the Old Testament prophets. There's a bad guy. Alright, let's go. Nope, guess what? This one's open. Alright, for this next scene, I want you to remember that whenever Noctis undergoes a trial of one of the gods, he gains that blessing from the god. And here,
This thing is serious business.
Handful indeed.
Oh man, is it?
What are we gonna do? We keep at it. What else?
vulnerable.
Try this on for size.
Alright, so this is a really cool part that really illustrates... Ah!
Farewell.
There we go. This illustrates the power of the gods. This is Rama. Pretty incredible.
This is the light of the six.
Dude, that was hard. hardcore!
That did the trick. The place is dead.
Rest in pieces. Come on, let's grab the regalia and split.
So one of the things that we discuss in my lectures in my class is that whenever you have a king who is a Jewish or Israeli king, a proper king is going to listen to the prophet, and they are going to channel the attributes or the power of their God, their deity, in order to bring order to the world or the society that they are ruling over. And this is kind of what I see in these sort of sequences. I mean, every Final Fantasy game, you have summon monsters, summoned gods or deities. And in this game, you are summoning the power of gods that the king can summon with the blessing of those gods, and then enact their power to bring justice or order to whatever chaos exists. We'll talk more about that order piece in future chapters.
This part is.
Inadvertent though it was, we dealt the Empire a crushing blow today. The Marshal will be pleased to hear of this.
Sure did. Core's gonna be so proud.
Pretty sweet, busting up that base. Bust a base. I like the sound of that for this sort of thing. There's a base. We go in and bust it up. Bust a base. Whatever. I'm calling it that. You don't have to.
I won't. Seems a bit flippant.
Why not go for something a little more epic?
Because I thought of it first. So that's the name. Bust a base. Get used to it.
Easier said than done.
Oh my gosh, I'm lost. Okay, I think we go this way. Maybe. Maybe bust through the wall of this base to get out of this maze. There's the regalia. We're coming, Mary Kay. We're coming. Or we're winded, knocked. Great.
Guys?
Long has it been, Noctis.
Ravis.
You received the storm's blessing, and yet you know nothing of the consequences.
Watch it.
Be still, all of you.
Not good.
Heir to a crown befitting no other. Witness his splendor and glory. All hail the chosen king.
Awful high and mighty for an Imperial rat, serving the enemy to hunt down Luna.
I do not serve, I command. The king's sworn shield.
You better believe it.
A weak shield protects naught.
Hey! Wanna go? Let's do it.
Should the chosen fall, that too is fate.
I'd say that's far enough. A hand, Highness.
Not from you.
Oh, but I'm here to help.
And how is that?
By taking the army away.
You expect us to believe that?
When next we meet, it'll be across the seas. Just so happens we have business of our own with the tutelary deity, don't we?
We do.
Fare thee well, your majesty. And safe travels.
You guys know that guy?
Ravis Nox Fleuret, first son of Tenebrae, and elder brother to Lady Luna Freya.
All right, so a lot goes down there. The biggest thing is
the Imperial blockades of Discayan roadways have been removed.
Ravis overpowered
the Imperial Army has
Noctis'
also demolished
shield,
all related
Gladio.
facilities erected around the region.
The Provisional Government of Insomnia anticipates increased traffic congestion along most local highways and encourages all citizens to refrain from any unnecessary travel for the time being.
So help me figure this out. That was Luna's brother?
The High Commander himself. Wartime makes for quick promotions.
Even a son of Tenebrae can rise to the top.
But why would he want to lead their army?
Ooh, big turn, Noct.
Certainly formidable enough on his own.
If Ravis wants power, I'll give him a taste.
Okay. Sorry. Not great with the driving here. Yeah, I think this is still the shortest route. I could be wrong. Yeah, this is not the shortest route. Wheel it around, Noct. Yep, right there in the middle of the road. Just like that.
Lestalem sure looks great from this angle. Oh, hey, we should get a picture.
No, we shouldn't. Not now. Sorry, Prompto.
Now? We can do it anytime.
So you say, but any time's no time at all, if you ask me.
Okay. Freaking Prompto, man. I still just get amazed at how pretty this game is and was. Nope. Oh, break in front of me. Alright, here we go. Yeah, this is the right way. Very pretty. This kind of feels like a car commercial, doesn't it? Hey, Vanilla, what's going on? How you doing, my friend? Great to see you. Thanks for hopping in, man. Oh, we're just gonna park right here, huh?
Ask around a little.
It's up to Noct.
Oh. Yep. The king can just park wherever he wants.
Saw a Magitech trooper the other day. Those things are downright unsettling.
Oh, really? Oh, man. That is, I am flattered. A personal trainer, man. That's awesome. How's the personal training going? Notice we got the Imperial theme here in Lestalem right now. What are they looking at? Alright, folks, this is a big scene right here, and we're going to talk about it.
Oh, Gladdy.
What's wrong?
I let you down. I never made it to Kayem. The Empire came while you were gone. None of us said a word about Noct. They just showed up and then... Poor Jared.
What do you mean? What happened to Jared?
There was nothing we could do!
couldn't stop them.
But I won't let the Empire get away with it. They'll pay for what they've done. I promise.
I believe in you, Prince Noctis.
I'm taking Talcott, and we're going to Kayam. We can't just stay here and do nothing.
I understand.
All right, let's pause for just a second here. First of all, that scene typically has music. And I don't know why there wasn't music in the background of that right there. So hang on one second. I'm going to try to pull up the scene with music so that you can see it really quick. 1 second. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I don't know what happened in that. It's not a terrible thing, but you still kind of get the impressions from that. But I'm gonna make sure that we see the full piece here. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, here we go.
This is.
Oops, 1 second. I'm going to have to swap over to this real quick. Boom. Okay, 1 second, real quick. I'm changing up some things very, very quickly. Let me just change one quick setting here. My bad. Screen capture. Am I jumping? Yes, I absolutely am. Why they put the that scene or that button. Oops. 1 second. And I'll try to fix the screen here for us. Boom and boom. All right, let's watch. And boom. There we go. We end this. Okay, thank you for the patience. I don't know why that happened. Let's watch together.
The Empire came while you were gone. None of us said a word about Noct. They just showed up and then... Poor Jared.
What do you mean? What happened to Jared?
There was nothing we could do!
That's not right. We should have been here.
I couldn't stop them.
But I won't let the Empire get away with it. They'll pay for what they've done. I promise.
I believe in you, Prince Noctis.
Yeah.
I'm taking Talcott. And we're going to Kaya.
Great question, Senorita. I'll explain in just a second.
We can't just stay here and do nothing.
I understand.
All right, let's talk about that scene for just a second. So, everybody, again, sorry for the difficulties with the I don't know, the background music of that one scene. It must be a PS5 patch issue or something like that. Anyway, just as a reminder, Jared was the older man that appeared the first time with Talcott. And essentially what happened here was the Empire came looking for Noctis. And Jared, who they knew to be one of the caretakers of the Amicidia family, that's Iris and Gladio, as well as their father Clarus, they interrogated him, and when he would not give up Noctis, Jared's killed by the Empire, and so Talcott here and Iris are just like at a loss because the Empire came and threatened the entire city and killed Jared. Now I want to pause for a second, because there's a scene that I from the book of 1 Samuel that I want to read. And if you're in my class, I want you to take note of this. But for everybody, I think this is a really interesting parallel here. I'm going to be reading from 1 Samuel chapter 21. So when David is on the run from King Saul, Saul is jealous, especially after David's great victory against Goliath. Saul is jealous because David is gaining all this clout as king. And so after some conversations with Saul's son Jonathan, who is David's best friend, David decides to go on the run. And at this point, Saul is chasing him down. David, though he is well known and well known for the benefit that he's given to King Saul, one of the issues is that but Saul is still king, even though David has been anointed and appointed by the prophet Samuel to be king. I want to read this in 1 Samuel chapter 21. So bear with me. This is kind of a lengthy thing, but I promise you it's going to make sense, okay? It says, David went to a city called Nob to a priest named Ahimelech. Ahimelech trembled when he met him and said, "Hey, why are you alone? Why is no one with you?" And David answered Ahimelech, the priest, "Well, the king sent me on a mission, and he said to me, no one is to know anything about the mission I'm sending you on. As for my men, I've told them to meet me at such and such place. Now then, what do you have on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread or whatever you can find." But the priest answered David, "I don't have any ordinary bread on hand. However, there is some consecrated bread here, provided the men have kept themselves from women." And David replied, "Well, indeed." Now, that seems like a weird thing, but typically under the Hebrew and Levitical law, before battle, the soldiers were not allowed to be intimate with another person. So it's to save their warrior-like fervor. So here's what it says in verse 5. David says, "Indeed, women have been kept from us as usual whenever I set out. The men's bodies are holy even on missions that are not holy. How much more so today?" So the priest gave him some of the blessed and consecrated bread, since there was no bread there except the bread of the presence, that's the holy bread, that had been removed from before the Lord and replaced by hot bread the day it was taken away. Bear with me. Now, one of Saul's servants was there that day, and it was a guy named Doeg the Edomite, D-O-E-G. My class and I call him Doug the Edomite. And this is King Saul's chief shepherd. So he's there. And David asked Ahimelech, "Hey, do you have a spear or a sword here? I haven't brought my sword or any other weapon because the king's mission was so urgent." When in fact he had to escape the king, right? The priest answered, "Well, it's the sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah. It's here, and it's wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it. There's no sword here but that one." And David said, "There is none like it. Give it to me." At that point, David leaves, and then just a little bit later, Saul hears that David had been in this city. Listen to what happens. I'm reading from 1 Samuel chapter 22 at this point. Saul heard that David and his men had been discovered, and Saul was seated, spear in hand, under the tamarisk tree on the hill at Gibeah with all his officials standing at his side. He said to them, "Listen, all of you men of Benjamin," the tribe that they're a part of, "will the son of Jesse," that's David, "give all of you fields and vineyards? Will he make you commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds? Is that why you've all conspired against me?" Basically, is David promising to give you wealth? "Is that why you've all conspired against me? No one tells me when my son makes a covenant with the son of Jesse. None of you is concerned about me or tells me that my son, Jonathan, has incited my servant to lie in wait for me as he does today." So Saul gets the impression that his son Jonathan is treasonous towards him. But then, listen to this. Watch this. But Doeg, or Doug, the Edomite, who was standing with Saul's officials, speaks up. He said, "No, I saw this. I saw David come to Ahimelech," and he points him out, to a son of Ahitub at the village of Nob. Ahimelech inquired of the Lord for him. So he prayed for him. And he also gave him provisions, and he even gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. And the king, at that point, sent for Ahimelech the priest and all the men of his family who were the priests at the village of Nob. And they all came to the king. Saul said, "Listen now, son of Ahitub." "Yes, my lord," he answered. Saul said to him, "Why have you conspired against me?" The son of Jesse, David, giving him bread and sword and inquiring of God for him, so that he's rebelled against me and lies in wait for me as he does today. And Ahimelech answered the king, "Who of all your servants is as loyal as David is to you? This is your son-in-law, the captain of your bodyguard, and he's highly respected in your household. Was that day the first time I prayed or inquired of God for him? Of course not. So don't let the king accuse me, your servant, or any of my father's family, for your servant knows nothing about this whole affair." Now that is a pretty bold thing to say to a king. But the king said, "You will surely die, Ahimelech, you and your whole family." And then the king, Saul, looks at the guards, and he says to them, "Turn and kill every priest of the Lord here, because they have sided with David. They knew he was fleeing, yet they did not tell me." But listen to this. The king's officials were unwilling to raise a hand to strike the priests of the Lord. So the king then ordered Doug, "You turn and strike down those priests." And so Doug, the Edomite, turned and struck them all down. That day he killed 85 men who wore the linen ephod, and he also put to the sword all of Nob, the town of priests, with its men, its women, its children, its infants, its cattle, its donkeys, and its sheep. So Saul comes to Nob. He discovers that they had been harboring David, and what does he do? He puts the city to death. This is so similar to the way that it happens in Lestalem. The Empire shows up in Lestalem, they're hunting down Noctis, and they find Jared, who had been harboring Noctis. And they interrogate him, and he refuses to give Noctis up. And so what happens? The Empire, not the Emperor, but a particular captain named Caligo, that we'll talk about in chapter 6, he puts him to death. Here's how that story continues, and this is what I really want us to lean in on. But one son of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled to join David. He told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord, and then David said to Abiathar, "That day, when Doeg the Edomite was there, I knew he would be sure to tell Saul." And now listen to what David says. David says to Abiathar, "I am responsible for the death of your whole family. Stay with me and don't be afraid, because the man who wants to kill you is trying to kill me too, and you will be safe with me." Noctis doesn't give the exact phrase that David does, but essentially he says to Talcott, "This was my fault. I'm responsible for your grandfather's death. So you're coming with us and we're going to keep you safe." This is almost one-to-one what happens with Noctis and Talcott and Jared, as it is with David and Abiathar and Ahitub and Ahimelech. Okay, I want you to kind of sink your teeth into this. The first part of an Ascension story is always the trials of a king. The second is the relationships. We've covered these in great detail tonight. But the third part of the Ascension story is the responsibility of a king. Every king has a moment where, for the things that happen under his or her reign, they take responsibility. And here, Noctis begins to take responsibility for what is happening to people because of him. Noctis was not the one that put Jared to the sword. David wasn't the one that put Nob to the sword. One second, my thing died. It is because of them that, because of David and Noctis, that these people were put to death. Okay, one second. I'm going to plug in my microphone because we got just like a few minutes left for the rest of this stream lecture. One second. All right, what's your responses on that? Do you see the connection, the parallel between Nob and Lestalem here? When I got to that part of this game, it kind of blew my mind a little bit because that, first of all, that's not a story you hear often regarding King David, and yet it is one of the most important stories of how David becomes responsible. So, okay, so there we have responsibility. All right, let's continue for just a minute here. We're going to finish up chapter 5 tonight, and then I'm going to show you a quick video, and then we'll do some processing, and we will call it a night. Good deal? All right, let's keep going. Oh, that is the end of the chapter. Never mind. I do want us to show one part, though. Give me a second. Kind of ends on a somber tone, doesn't it? Oh, let's look at our pictures real quick. Yeah, kind of nice. All right, the start of chapter 6 looks like this. One of my favorite scenes. All right, so Noctis begins to have nightmares. Real quick in the chat, what do you make of that? What do you make of that as we kind of close out tonight? They went so hard with those cinematics. So that particular nightmare, that particular dream, comes from a much larger sequence. And I'm going to show this, thank you, Eliar. I'm going to show you this full sequence of this trailer so that you can see what it is. Now, I want you to understand that this trailer is still considered canon, even though it's not in the game. They use portions of it, but the whole trailer is part of the game, and we're going to check this out right now. Let me just do just a couple of things. Is this it? I think it is. Yes, sir. Let me do some formatting real quick for us. Right there. Oh, real wide. Okay. Right there. Oh, bring that up. Good. Okay. Now here's the full trailer for that encompasses that whole deal there. Okay? Let's watch.
To crown the King of Light is the calling of a crystal. Only the true king, anointed by the crystal, can purge our star of its scourge. Chosen. Yes. I guess I can do it. I won't let you down. I know you won't.
How many must die before you are satisfied?
I have seen many deaths, but now I'm only looking forward to one. And then I can rest.
He will take responsibility, you know.
As must we all.
May the gods forgive me.
All right, folks, what's your reaction to that trailer, that nightmare in its entirety that Noctis has? What are your responses? And I'll give you some of my thoughts as well. It's an amazing trailer. Amazing trailer. I wish that they had put the whole thing in the game, because it's beautiful, and it's also just like gut punching. What happened to that game? Yeah, that's a good looking game, isn't it? Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's awesome, right? There's a couple things that I want you to notice. At the very end, it's got Regis, and he says he's having this argument with the kings. And he says Noctis will take responsibility. Noctis will take responsibility amidst all of it. It's a trailer to Final Fantasy 15. It was kind of a launch day trailer that seems to have no idea, no relation to the game. But I would argue that it has everything to do with the game, starting in this chapter. It happens. The nightmare happens immediately the night after Jared dies. Now, if you are king, if you are Noctis, and you have taken responsibility saying Jared's death is on me, then what do you worry? If I'm responsible now, how many are going to die? Because you got to think about it. Because of him, and I guess his father as well, his father is dead. Claris is dead. Now Jared is dead. You look at Gladio and Prompto and Ignis, and maybe even Luna, and all of these people around you are in danger. And so he has this nightmare that includes him running and fighting and trying to be responsible, all the while you hear Luna's voice in the background. And what are the things that she's saying? It's the things that she said 12 years ago, where she says to him, it's the task of the king to protect the crystal, and you are the chosen. And then he replays his own words as well, saying things like, I think I can do it. And she says, as your oracle, I'll see to it. And this dream is a lot of fear and a lot of pressure of what if I can't? He's fighting against his calling here, and I think that's symbolized by him stabbing Luna in this, saying, when I fail Luna, it's as though I've ruined not only my calling, but hers as well. Her very calling and responsibility as oracle is for me to ascend and to be the king, the chosen king. And if I fail to do that, well, what good was all of this, or all of these losses for nothing? So you can imagine the pressure. And when I watched this scene for the first time, I just got the weight of what it means for Noctis to kind of have that sort of mentality. It also made me realize, what was David's mindset after Ahimelech died? How many more people had to die for him? Ahimelech and what was it, 89 priests were put to death that day, something like that. 80 some odd priests were put to death because of David. And David must have been wondering the entire time, is it worth it for me to ascend? Is it worth it for me to be king? How many people have to die because of me? I share that with you because this is a vital part of Noctis' story. And I believe in chapter 5, we see a turning point. He's got decisions to make. Now, we've talked a little bit about the Ring of Delusii. Luna is going to, her task is to give Noctis the ring. She's essentially going on her way to give Noctis this ring, and the ring represents responsibility. So when he gets that ring and he's able to put it on, the judgment comes, and he's got to make a choice. Is he going to enact? Now, somebody in class said, why a ring? Why is that the point? During the days of, early, kind of leadership, kingly duties and responsibilities, and even for the aristocrats during former generations, the ring was a symbol of power and wealth, but it was also a stamp of approval. So kings would oftentimes seal letters by pouring wax, and then they would stamp their family crest or their seal with their ring. And so this ring essentially says, by the name of the Lucians, I am enacting power and order through this. And so responsibility, putting on that ring, is a huge, huge piece for Noctis. All right, so what do you think? Chapter 5. This was a big one, right? This was a huge one as far as the lore of this. What are your responses in our final few minutes together, and we'll call it a night then? What do you think? Are you interested? Are you understanding the story? What questions, comments do you have? Put them in the chat, and we'll dissect them for just about 3 minutes or so, and then we'll again head out. Chapter 5 is one of my absolute favorites. Yeah, good, Senorita. I'm glad that you're loving it. I hope that it's beginning to make more sense as far as the biblical narrative as well. I hope that you're finding it really interesting and you're making these connections. And I'll say we're only getting started with this stuff. The biblical parallels will pick up pretty amazingly in the coming sessions. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, everybody, thank you for being in the chat tonight. Thank you for talking about chocobos and all kinds of stuff with us. It's more fun when y'all are hanging out with us. So thank you for that. If you are in class, remember to get those essays in tonight. I really, really hope that you will finish up your papers on trial. So a little homework reminder for you. And we're going to continue with chapter 6 and beyond on Tuesday night, and so we'll pick up there. But thanks again for being here, and I hope that you have just the best night and the weekend of your lives. So see you later. Bye.